in third place with 39 points.
Yeah, I don't know how you ended up with it.
No, but I counted.
YOLO!
All right, we're back in town. Just got in from Alaska midnight last night. Drove up the hill already to our local hill here, Bogus Basin. There was actually a fire here in town. Pretty serious for the Boise area. A lot of the trails, good portion of the lower foothills are actually closed off while they're still fighting that one. There's not a lot of trees at lower elevation, so a lot of grasses and small brush got burnt to a crisp while we were away. We missed the entire thing while we were in Alaska. Temperature did reach into the hundreds yesterday. We didn't catch any of that arriving past midnight, but it is supposed to get up above 100 today down in town in the valley. Up here we're gonna save ourselves about 15 degrees in temperature, usually 10 to 15, who knows, but I have to say it did become a bit overcast, which is very much welcomed. It felt even hotter even just standing around the backyard this morning. Got a bunch of new stuff in for test and stuff to carry on testing, but I thought it'd be appropriate to start off with this Rossignol Vercors here. Vercors. Rossignol is, of course, a French brand, so I'm not sure about that pronunciation there. This is their flagship trail model for spring summer 2026. I did get a couple of runs in this one up around Table Rock while my daughter was at camp before we left, so nice and rocky trails over there. This one has a rock shield in the mix, so it would be appropriate to bring it out here today. I am doing just laps on the ski hill, trying to build up my mountain legs. They're feeling relatively strong after those runs in Alaska, but travel and even 2-hour time change, getting home late, taking a little bit out of me. Before launching into details, I've got one lap in the books here. It took me about 26 minutes, I think. Forgot 15 or 16 minutes up, about 900 feet, so above 1,000 feet per mile on this climb here. I'm alternating walking and running, but cannot use the poles, run, and talk at the same time. First thing, getting back to it, you'll notice there's a huge tail swoop, tail, whatever you want to call that, behind this shoe. I'm never a fan of that design. Could be comfortable, better on road shoes for sure, keep the pressure off the Achilles, but again, I did one lap down. Very dry, as you can see around here. Lots of lupin up here. Similar kind of wildflowers that I saw earlier in the week in Alaska, but I can tell you they're not as lush here. Definitely a little bit, or a lot drier, I should say. So some amount of this dry sand, rock, dirt, pebbles did get into my shoe on the way down. I could feel it kind of swishing around underfoot, and you can probably see that tail behind me there, certainly acting as a funnel to let all this grit in there, which is not great in this type of dry and loose terrain. Got these Vercors in a US 10 EU 43, leaned into larger sizing, knowing that this is a French European brand here. That sizing is correct for me here. Feels like a US 10, although take a close-up look later. Definitely snug, low volume, tapered in the toe box. EU 43 though does seem like a low number relative to its sizing and relative to the US 10. With these feeling like a US 10, I would have expected EU sizing to be more like 43.5 or even close to 44, so take that into account if you are across the pond over in Europe. Take advantage of this smooth little flat up here to talk about the specs. I've got 11.2 ounces, 318 grams. A little bit on the heavy side, but if you watch my recent videos, you'll know weight is not everything, nor does 0.55 coming in half an ounce heavier than this one, although quite a different foam in that one. Hard to compare the weight of that shoe to other heavyweight shoes. This shoe definitely feels on the heavier side. You've got that plate in the mix, of course, does not behave in the same energetic way as the heavier Norda 0.55. I measured the stack height just before I left. I got 36 at the heel, specified 6mm drop, putting it at 36.30. The website lists this as E plus foam, although the back of the heel says Ever foam. I am not sure of the exact formulation. I'm gonna have to double check that one, but it doesn't feel like a crazy bouncy super foam. Perhaps could be a supercritical EVA, although I'm not sure. The Diapason Shield XLT rock shield there. They're calling it a soft rock shield or something like that, but I do think that blunts out a lot of the energy from the foam. They do use ortholite insoles in here. They actually give you 2 of them in the box, so you can vary the amount of volume that you have in the shoe. I, of course, went with the thinnest one because I feel this is quite a tight shoe, quite a narrow and tapered toe box here. I'm not sure who would want to use both of those insoles on top of each other, but that is an option if you have especially narrow feet, or perhaps you want an especially tight fit in alpine terrain. One thing underfoot though that I noticed coming down here, steep descent here, again 900 feet in less than a mile, they're feeling very hot. I think ortholite insoles are not the best in hot temperatures when you're, causing a lot of friction as you're going downhill. Foothold is very good, but it does feel just, the soles of my feet are feeling really hot right now. And on top of that, I could feel all the little pebbles that got in, likely from that tail there. Let's do one lap here, a little bit on the flats. That's the way I went up the past 2 times, but crisscross the face here, get into some shade. I'm also not too sure on the material of the plate here. I will say it does feel quite soft and quite flexible. Feel the protection for sure when I was running earlier around Table Rock. Lots of rocky stuff, and nothing was really getting through to my foot, so definite plus. But also in runnable terrain, doesn't feel too bad. I mean, the plate itself doesn't feel too firm, does feel a little bit of stiffness. I do have to use runner's lacing here again, a little bit sized up here. I don't know how Euros typically size their shoes, normally a little bit tighter. I do have a full thumbs width up front, which does feel appropriate for this shoe, but with that extra length, perhaps a touch of looseness in the heel. Runner's lacing does a trick here, no problem at all. No lace bite either at the top lace row with the extra lacing, so fine fitting shoe here, although narrow up front. Whew, little shady relief in here for now. Catch my Death March Running Company gear here. Got a nice t-shirt here. A couple of soft flasks, a few gel flasks, car seat cover, and a couple of other running gear bags. I'm gonna have to do a full roundup. I met Taylor over at TrailCon. Super nice guy, chatting a bit. I didn't know he had this whole operation going. I think they do a lot of race support out in Colorado, but cool gear. I'm gonna have to check out the rest of the gear he sent when I have a little bit more time to settle in. Just grab this stuff literally out of the shipping bag on my way out today. They're calling this a Dragonfly light upper here. You can probably tell by the dust spots here that it is quite breathable. You have a web of overlays, underlays. It's a single layer mesh here, aside from gussets along the side there, but You can see the openings. These are open mesh for breathability. It's gray upper, so not a warm fabric. I like this color, but you can tell here where the air and the moisture is kind of coming out and grabbing onto some of the dirt, so you do have some good breathability in this upper here. One thing about the fit, there's a decently sized arch contour under here. It has a feel similar to the Vective Rockers. It doesn't quite have the Vective Rocker shape, like that rolling shape of the North Face shoes, but under the arch here, it does have that similar kind of feel where you like an arch of support under here, and the heel feels just a touch lower, almost similar to the Golden Gate LT from Scarpa that I've been running in. Although I think that one feels, the Scarpa does feel a little bit lower in the heel. This has a similar feel where I actually like it. I don't find it obtrusive at all, because I find like it does seat the heel just the right amount, similar to how those North Face shoes work. Because even though I have a good amount, this is a full thumbs width here in my US 10. I'm jumping around here, but you could see the tapered shape up front here. It does taper quite sharply at the very front here, and it's a little bit low volume. So I do have these laced a little bit looser, and they do give you eyelet options here. I think there's one down here, yeah, so they come laced on those inner ones. I feel like if I keep them on the outer ones and keep the lacing looser, that enables me to have a looser lacing and maintain a secure fit with the upper material. So I did switch it from, I think, these ones to here and this one out to here. So I don't know, maybe this is something in European shoes that's more prevalent and people are used to, but I did widen them out, and I find at my US 10, again, sized up here, full thumbs width, I'm not moving around at all, and that does have to do with that arch contour seating the heel. I feel very dialed around the middle of the shoe. So as far as having that amount of space, it's not a hindrance at all. And certainly when I was going down the ski slope there, I'm not really moving forward. Again, with this kind of double up runner's lacing up here, it's really holding, I get a little pressure, of course, when you're running down that steep, but it's holding my foot up. Also, the arch is holding my foot up from sliding forward and have space here. So I'm not jamming the front of the shoe at all. So if that's something that you deal with in steeper terrain, that's a good model in that regard. The heel cup and shape is actually quite comfortable. I'm wearing thin socks here, again, more so due to the front and just the snugger feel of it. And it felt like I might get irritation back here, but I think the shape is well rounded enough that I'm not getting any irritation at all. And I did 2 steep laps already, plus running up here, and I'm gonna run back down. But this is the thing I was talking about right at the very beginning. I've never seen something this I've never seen this much of a swoop or tail or whatever you want to call it in a trail shoe. I really don't understand what this is for. It's definitely letting stuff in, because there's stuff inside my shoe. So thumbs down on this. I hope they can, I don't know what they're thinking here. I think I could see my umbrella down there. My daughter is mountain biking with my wife and her friend. They're going up and down. That's the main bike park area. I don't know if they could see me, but I think they want to have a break, so I'm gonna head back down. Again, runnability is quite good here, especially for a plated shoe. I think that contour under the arch does kind of hold up the speed of the shoe a little bit. I feel like I'm kind of squishing into that arch a little bit more, but it is giving you a good amount of ground feel at the forefoot. Your arch is kind of supported there with your forefoot having the feel of being a little bit lower, a little closer to the ground, a little more feel, but not as snappy of a ride. Plate is not really there for speed. Really feels like definitely oriented towards rock protection. Also, the midsole feel here, the ride, definitely leads into protected cruising, so to speak. That's probably how I would put it. It doesn't have pop to it at 3630. Mid stack, not overly cushioned, but again, with the rock plate, it doesn't feel like a firm ride. I think the ortholite insole probably taking a touch of the firmness off, but it really doesn't feel firm at all, I have to say. So comfortable if you're looking for something that's, say, alpine runnable. Got sidetracked a bit up on the mountain the other day. When I came down, my daughter wanted to do the ropes course, so I was up there dangling in a harness for about an hour and a half or 2 hours or so. Didn't get to the last few tidbits I wanted to cover here with this Rossignol Vercors. I'm back down in the valley today. Had a little bit of cloud cover earlier in the day, but not now. Quite actually humid due to those clouds rolling in, and definitely hot. Still around 6:30 p.m. here. I did make a couple of small updates to my setup here. First one you may have noticed, new socks. Got these Smart Wool trail running socks. Targeted cushion here. A little bit of extra padding in the heel. Also around the forefoot and toe box area. I've got an older pair similar to this one. It's got a bunch of holes in it by now, but I don't know how long I've had them. It has to be at least 5 years or so. The longest running pair of trail socks I have. They're due for retirement, so happy to have these and a couple others, and actually a couple t-shirts in from Smart Wool to test. But my sock choice here is pertinent to this Vercors review here, as there's definitely a bit more volume in this sock than the one I had up on the mountain the other day. And I talked about this being a little bit of a tight toe box, narrow, having that kind of low volume torpedo shape over the top of the toes. But I'm here in a quite cushioned, about medium weight here sock. Fresh wool out of the pack here, so it is also nice and puffy. I think it's just a demonstration that I do think that this toe box is something that you can work with as long as you don't have an overly wide foot, and as I talked about earlier, as long as you size correctly and do have that full thumbs width in front of the toes. Utilizing those outer eyelets there with their little variable lacing setup should also help a bit. And actually, one detail I wanted to delve into a little bit today is the heel cup, because it is quite firm, and this padded cushioned heel is certainly adding an element of cushion and padding around my heel, between my foot and that kind of firm inner heel area that is actually really quite comfortable now. And I think I'd prefer running in a sock like this as opposed to a thinner one. So I am zigzagging around a few spur trails around the lower area here. A good chunk of our lower foothills trail section is actually closed due to a fire that was raging while we were gone. That situation is actually still ongoing, so big shout out and thank you to all the fire personnel, firefighting, wildlife personnel that are out there and have been out there for the past week, maybe going on 2 weeks or more now. And I think they have the road on the other side slated to reopen August 1st. So it's going to be quite a journey to make sure that nothing flares up, especially given how dry and hot it still is. Some of these spur trails are actually quite fun. Get a little bit of short up and downs. I have to be careful for snakes, of course. I'm keeping my eyes peeled, but that goes for anywhere else around here too. Another quick mod I did for today's run is swap out the insole. Talked about there being that dual insole setup. I did actually remove the thinner, which I think they call the adapt insole, that you can put underneath the regular one, which is the one that I left in. But today, I took out whatever came with the shoe entirely, threw in a TPEE insole here, just a kind of stock slab of TPEE that I have from some prototype testing that I've done. Whoops, can't see the trail. It definitely rebounds better than the stock insole, and I'm pretty sure it's lighter too, so that is a worthy upgrade for this shoe. If you're looking for a little more comfort underfoot, perhaps a touch more energy, it certainly feels like that. And another thing is, it seems to be kind of smoothing out that arch contour. I feel like with the Ortho Light, it just kind of like wrapped over the arch contour in a firm way and didn't really smooth it out. Here with the TPEE foam, a little bit more resilient. It seems to smooth out that hump in a way that makes it feel a little more gradual, both in front of and behind the arch. Of course, it's also not going to absorb water like an Ortholite insole would, but I don't have to worry about that out here today. One thing I do have to worry about is when I'm swapping out that insoles, I had to shake out a fair bit of dirt and little pebbles and stuff from inside the shoe and even underneath the insole. And that is due to that, or this tail swoop or sweep or whatever's going on in the rear of the shoe. It's just an extremely questionable design. I don't know what they're thinking with that one. Even if you wanted to add a gaiter with this shoe to keep stuff out, the way that it sticks out in the back, those types of designs can make it hard to kind of seal the gaiter around the rear, or you can get it over the rear, but then it pulls up the front of the gaiter. So it's just, I don't know. Gotta do something about that, Rossignol. You can see some of the black burnt vegetation beyond this little rise here. I'm actually not allowed to go beyond this point. Trails are closed. Although there's no sign just here at the moment, but as far as I know, can't head over that way. You saw the sign there, unexploded ordnance, UXO. I don't think that applies specifically to this area right here that I'm running in, but if that trail head is open right there, you could easily bop on over to the other section, which is the military reserve, where apparently back in the day they used to do a lot of military testing and left some stuff lying around. This trail doesn't go anywhere, but you can get a quick view over here. Yeah, see? All that side burnt. Anything east of this road right here is closed for the moment. So even though this looks okay, you could easily get into areas where that's pretty close, where it's not okay. Thankfully, they stopped it before it got into more of the tree cover. That area over there towards the ski hill, a lot more trees, and certainly over the backside, north facing aspect, a lot more heavily wooded areas than this south, which is getting cooked by the sun all the time. But such are the realities of living in the American West, even in a semi-urban area such as Boise. Just behind that little hill right over there is actually the state capitol building. So state capitol's right there, and the fire's right there. Even this lower part where it started, it's got to be less than 2 miles to the capitol building. So pretty close. A couple small things I wanted to key in on here. I did read that correctly. They did say something about comfort with this Diapason Shield XLT rock shield underfoot. They did say it is a comfort plate support underfoot, and I think that is true. It is actually unbelievably flexible for calling it, say, a rock plate or rock shield. It's pretty much right up there, and given the higher stack, I'm thinking of a shoe with Vective Sky 2 that has a carbon fiber plate, and it is like surprisingly twisty, and this one is kind of the same way at a much higher stack than that Sky 2. Not sure if you can see this, but I'll get a close-up if you can. Inside this heel here, it is quite firm. And I just got another shoe in the other day, Salomon Genesis 2. And it's quite a comparison against this one because that shoe feels overly soft on the inside. It's kind of weird. It's like a technically oriented shoe, I believe similar in nature to this one, but the heel area is just so soft and so padded on the inside. This is like the complete opposite. This area below this wing here is actually quite firm. But for me, when it comes to these kind of heel shape, heel cup irritations that some runners may get, it is so individualized, so personalized. I find for me that it's more about the rounded cupping shape of a heel cup inside of there, as opposed to any amount of padding that you can put in there. Like a shoe like the Norda 001, 001A, there's no padding in there, but I feel like it's nice and rounded and I get no issues with that. And that shoe is certainly 50-50 at most for runners getting pretty bad irritation with that one. This is kind of similar. It is hard, but it is like, it's almost like a sphere in there, and that just, this whole area inside just wraps my heel really well. Again, I could completely do without this. The Solomon has something similar, but it's even like floppier than this, but tons of padding on the inside, which I don't think is a match for that shoe. I'm gonna do more running in that shoe and see, maybe I can do some adjustments that I did with this one to make it run or feel a little bit better. This one feels great. Just quick look. This is my TPEE insole here, just a standard run-of-the-mill stuff. You can swap in anything, but it is a little bit thicker here. So even with this narrower kind of low over the top toe box, again, a lot of times with the toe box, not all the time, but a lot of times it does come down to sizing. If you're sizing where you don't have a full thumbs width in front of the toes, more likely than not, depending always on your foot shape, foot size, width, etc., 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 you may have that more potential to have issues if you are sized incorrectly. With this quite narrow shoe, I have to say, quite tight in the toe box, with the full thumbs width, I hate to be just like harping on this, it feels really good actually. I feel really solid, and the narrower fit is actually probably enhancing the feel and ride in technical terrain. So, last thing here, we got Dura Grip outsole here, 4 mil lugs here, solid coverage here, a lot of outsole here. Again, this shoe is over 11 ounces, so they're not skimping on, you know, they have that rock shield in there, even though it is quite flexible, but quite a bit of lug depth here, quite a bit of rubber underfoot, and there's also a bit of tail sticking out here. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of this. Perhaps on steeper descents, this could be helpful, but it does feel like, as with this, just a little bit extra back here. I think I would like this as a, or I believe it would have a more agile feel if we chop this off and then just slim down the rear of this a little bit. And then I think it would save some weight, and it would feel like even more agile than it does for, you know, the weight and how it is underfoot, how adaptable it is. I haven't tested wet grip, of course. It's, you know, you can see the hills behind me, pretty dry since I've been running in this shoe. But I think with the adaptability of that, like the contouring and everything, I don't foresee any issues traction-wise at all. You saw me going up and down on the ski hill back behind me the other day. No issues at all, and that was like not even a trail. It was just like loose, kind of running between flowers and stuff like that. Final thoughts here on the Rossignol Vercors. I'll say this, I thought there was no way I would enjoy running in the shoe. Straight out of the box, felt a little firm, looked a little bit long, certainly also looked a little bit tight, and those areas in the heel, both heel flare underfoot and that swoop up around the Achilles collar, certainly had kind of alarm bells ringing for me that this is one that I might not get along with, but I have in fact been pleasantly surprised. A couple of small tweaks, the lacing optionality they give you, which is built into the shoe, of course. Also swapping out the insole. Granted, I'm never a fan of Ortholite, but I think that kind of friction I was getting on the downhills and just the grit that was getting into it and being between my foot and the insole on top of it, I just don't think that insole does the shoe any favors. Switching to a sock with a little bit more cushion in the heel also helps eliminate pretty much any irritation or any feeling of firmness around the heel cup area on the inside. I'm not feeling it at all on this run today. So with those little tweaks and perhaps a little bit of break-in of the shoe, it is really growing on me a lot. Really do like it. I feel like the things that I've touched upon can be improved and would be an improvement for this. Of course, insole, that tail swoop in the back end. As I run in it more, the kind of heel platform sticking out under the back, I feel like it's becoming more and more apparent. Like the shoe feels so flexible up front, a lot of ground feel, really agile feel, especially since the fit is so dialed. But I just get the feel of that kind of tail hanging or hitting the ground behind me with every step. But I feel like these are all elements that can be ironed out. I'm not really familiar with Rossignol as a trail running brand, but if this is a start, I haven't tested the Vercors, but this being my first experience with the brand, there is a lot to build on. It's really smooth riding shoe, even in smoother terrain, and certainly it handles well in technical terrain, steep ups and downs. Running in this shoe so far has really been a positive experience, and I'm looking forward to running in more Rossignol trail running shoes in the future. Thank you for tuning in. As usual, like and subscribe. Check out the website, www.humblerunning.com. Sign up for my newsletter. I am heading up to the Sawtooths this weekend for some more adventure running. This would be a good shoe for there. Absolutely true, but have a couple others in the queue in mind for those test runs over there. So let me know down in the comments if you have any questions about this one, or maybe what you'd like to see over there, although I won't be able to read those before I'm there. So just stay tuned in and see what I'm up to in the Sawtooths. I will see you out on the trails next time.